From the CyberHub bunker and studio, you're tuning in to the CyberHub Podcast. And now for your host and CISO, James Azar.
Good morning, security gang. Welcome to another episode of the CyberHub Podcast. We've got a lot to talk about today. I mean, a lot to talk about on this morning's show. A whole lot. So Wednesday, February 26th, 2025. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Obviously, if what you're looking on your screen, we're going to talk about the Swedish authorities, the DISA breach, the NSA Secret Sex Chats. Yes, there's that. There's telegrams and backdoors to messaging apps by more and more government requests, messaging apps getting fined. What's the line in the sand that needs to be drawn? What's the balance that needs to exist? We're going to talk about all that on today's show. So again, a lot to unpack, a lot to unload. So let's get right into the show this morning. But before we do, today, as you obviously see right in front of you, those three very, very beautiful people will be finally laid to rest in Israel. Shiri, Ariel, and Kfir Bibas, as I record the show this morning, are making their final way to the resting place in Israel. Over 100,000 people lined up the streets to bid farewell to those three beautiful people. It's a loss that's deeply felt in Israel. There was always hope that the three would be coming back home alive and well. However, Hamas terrorists didn't do that. They came home in coffins. And so today, Shiri will be laid to rest with her two sons, Ariel and Kfir, and Yarden Bibas will begin the mourning period from October 7th after being in captivity for 490 some odd days and so much more. So my hearts go out to the folks over in Israel. I know many people who are impacted by this, whether directly or indirectly. Sheyeh Zechram Baruch. All right, coffee cup cheers for all of y'all. I don't have my espresso, obviously, because I'm traveling. So coffee cup cheers to everyone kind of getting their coffee this morning. And let's get into the show here around cyber. A Texas-based employee screening giant, DISA Global Solutions, that confuses a lot of people because DISA is also like the defense. It's part of the defense industry. And so when I first saw it, I thought it was that. It's not. So they're essentially a background screening company that suffered a data breach back in 2024 that's now impacting 3.3 million customers. DISA boasts about serving more than 55,000 customers, says it performs millions of drug tests and background screens every single year. The firm is now telling the public and authorities that 3.33 million individuals whose current or foreign employers use DISA screening services had their personal information stolen last year as a result of the cybersecurity incident. That incident discovered on April 22nd of 2024. And it took some time. I had access to their systems until February 9th of this year, so nearly 9, almost 10 months in the system. The company conducted what they described a detailed and intensive review of the file stolen by the attackers in an effort to identify individuals whose PII was stolen as a result of the incident. The breach notice posted on their website reveals stolen information includes names, social security numbers, driver's license, other government ID numbers, financial account information, and other types of data. It's unclear if this was a ransomware attack because no ransomware group took credit for the breach, meaning they either paid or otherwise this was just a data espionage piece. Have I Been Pawned has said that they've added 284 million accounts stolen by an information stealer malware found on a Telegram channel. Troy Hunt said he found 284,132,969 compromised accounts while analyzing 1.5 terabytes of stealer logs likely collected from numerous sources and shared on a Telegram channel known as Alien Text Base. They contain 23 billion rows with 493 unique websites and email addresses pairs that affects 284 unique email addresses, according to Hunt. They've also added 244 million passwords we've never seen before to pawn passwords and updated accounts against another 199 million that were already in there. Before adding the stolen accounts to the Have I Been Pawned database, Troy confirmed their authenticity by checking if the password reset attempts using the stolen email addresses triggered the service to send a password reset email. They used newly added APIs. Domain owners and websites operators can now identify customers whose credentials were stolen by querying the added stealer logs by email domain or website domain. So something to check. If you're not constantly checking Have I Been Pawned, you're really kind of missing the ball there a little bit on your threat hunting and identity management side. Swedish authorities are seeking a backdoor to encrypted messaging apps. So Apple had to, obviously earlier this week, we talked about this here, Apple had to essentially say that they will no longer encrypt iCloud in the UK, specifically kind of bending the knee to the Brits. The Brits wanted that for everyone in the world. I think they've forgotten what year we live in. So now Sweden's law enforcement and security agencies are pushing legislation to Signal and WhatsApp to create technical backdoors that would allow them to access communications over the encrypted messaging apps. Signal Foundation President Meredith Whitaker said the company would leave the Swedish market before complying with such a law. Meredith, I applaud you. That should have been what Apple should do, and that should be what WhatsApp should do. We'd rather be out of the market than comply with your backdoors, and then let the people vote these tyrants out of office. The bill could be taken up by the Riksdag, the Swedish parliament, next year if law enforcement succeeds in getting it before the relevant committees. The legislation states that Signal and WhatsApp must retain messages and allow the Swedish security service and police to ask for and receive criminal suspect message histories, according to the outlet. Minister of Justice Gunnar Stromer told the Swedish press that it is vital for Swedish authorities to gain access to data because the bill would mandate the Signal build backdoors in its software, and it would weaken the messaging app's entire infrastructure. I mean, here's the thing about this. Criminals don't really use this stuff like for every day. Like they use their own stuff. We'll talk about that here in just a second when we get to the NSA Secret Sex Chats. Like they have their own stuff. What are you doing? I mean, just stupid. It's a line in the sand. I don't know. I hope messaging apps stand on their two back feet and just say, we're not doing it. We'd rather leave your market, kick us out of your app store. That's fine. And watch other apps come in and fill that void, because they're going to constantly fill that void. And WhatsApp will just become WhatsApp with an A instead of a U, or they'll add a U instead of an A. They'll add a whole bunch of stuff, and they'll change their name, and they'll launch in under a different guise. And then you'll ban them, and then they'll do that again, and they'll do that again, until you realize you cannot ask for backdoors of encrypted private communications, not that way, not any way, without really having a good legal process that reassures the companies and the users that you're not just snooping on them randomly. So there's that. So if you recall, Arnold Clark went through a massive data breach back in 2020, I believe it was 2023, with a ransomware attack that really kind of paralyzed the car dealership in Europe. They employ over 10,000 people. They sell over 300,000 cars annually across more than 200 UK retail location. And at a cybersecurity conference at the Future Scout at Glasgow's University, Hawthorne, who's the CEO of the company, that with an IT staff numbering 220 people, he thought the firm was well prepared to face cyber threats. Again, IT staff, not security staff, two different things. And he said he was shocked when the attack went through. Overall, the attack cost him nearly 50 million pounds, around $63 million, led to months of the recovery as the company slowly brought networks and systems back online, prioritizing the most important parts of the business first. One of the big takeaways from the attack, he said, is to always live the mentality that cybersecurity is a journey, meaning it's a never-ending process of organizational self-improvement, with cyber resilience being one of the key focal points. For countering whatever future threats the organization face, speed of response is the best defense, he said. At the time of the attack, Arnold Clark's average incident response time was 12 to 18 hours. Now they've driven that down to just 1 to 2 hours. Spectacular. When we talk about cyber resilience, that's exactly what you need to be talking about. How fast can I recover? How do I keep my organization running? If I had to shut down, would it be a 1-day shutdown or a 3-day shutdown or a 3-week shutdown? Or can I get it done in mere hours? And that's the key. One complicating factor for maintaining high levels of readiness is that as time progresses, the attack recedes in the minds of employees, never mind the influx of new employees who didn't live through it when IT pulled seemingly non-stop shifts and risked personal burnouts to put the organization back on its feet. He talked about complacency being a threat. That is absolutely true. When you look at complacency in cybersecurity, that's typically where you will find the biggest weaknesses and gaps, and that's the organizations that typically fail the litmus test when it comes to going through a cybersecurity event and then later on an incident. So all of that in there. It's great to see this article again. It's in the show notes. It's worth a read. I'll try to find his speech, by the way, and see if it's posted on YouTube, and I'll share it either on our YouTube page or most likely on our website at cyberhubpodcast.com. Now let's get to this story broken down by Chris Rufo. For those who don't know Chris Rufo, he's an activist, a journalist, one of those guys that just finds stuff out. He's got a lot of friends in a lot of really cool places. Well, now the intelligence community, one of the most powerful parts of the American national security apparatus that works tirelessly to keep our nation safe. According to internal documents he obtained, with some intelligence employees confirming it, what they talk about on the job, not how do we overcome Russia and China. No, sex chats. Yep. That's what some folks at the NSA are doing. Cultivated sources within the NSA, one current employee, one former employee who provided chat logs from the NSA Interlink messaging program. According to the NSA press official, all NSA employees sign agreements when they come on, saying that they will not use it to publish non-mission related material on Interlink. And it's a usage violation that will result in disciplinary action. However, the logs dating back to 2 years are lurid. They feature wide-ranging discussions of sex, kink, polyamory, and castrations. I'm not going to get into what they're talking about because what you do on your own time is your own business. What you do on taxpayer time becomes taxpayer business. And that's the thing here. The cybersecurity community is facing an extreme challenge with the current administration. The politicization of CISA, and now this kind of stuff happening at the NSA is leading to a specific disbelief by new leadership that these people are focused on the mission and not potentially what they consider to be woke priorities that don't really support national security. Now, whether you agree with the woke or not, that's not the debate we're having on the show here. The question is, whatever you do on your private time is whatever you do. It's your life and you're a grown adult. However you want to live your life is your absolute right. That's the right of that. That's why this country exists. However, there's a list of accountability. That accountability says that when you're on the job and you're working in a national security apparatus at the highest levels of the National Security Agency, dealing with our adversaries on a day-to-day basis, and as we're dying by a death by 1,000 cuts, and on government time, using government property, using taxpayer-funded programs that we fund for you, this is what you're doing. Is a slap in the face to American taxpayers. I don't care what you do on your private time. You want to do whatever you want to do whatever you want to do. You want to be in a polyamorous relationship? I had to look that up. If that's your thing, boo-boo, go for it. I don't care. But when you're talking about it, while taxpayers are paying you, while our adversaries are hyper-focused on trying to cut this country into 1,000 different pieces with corporate espionage, economic espionage, government espionage, IP theft, manufacturing, supply chains, and all the various risks we're doing. And that's what you do on government paid time funded by the taxpayers, the people who work hard, like me and everyone else who watches this podcast, who listens to it, who works in cybersecurity and elsewhere. You bring shame to those people. And I hope every single one of these peoples are fired. I hope they are. There's a lot there's this article is kind of really going through it with everything that's on there. I'm not going to repeat it because it's really kind of sensationalizing something that I think is missing the point. And Chris Rufo does a great job of exposing this stuff. He's a great researcher. I love Chris Rufo for the stuff he's done over the years. However, the point missing here is you work for the government. You work for the American taxpayers. You're not at an upper class group. That's something that a lot of people who end up in government kind of always assume. You're not in an upper class group. You're the citizens are the upper class in this country. The government is the service class. We seem to have forgotten it, but it's time we remember it. And when you work for the government and when you're representing an agency like the National Security Agency, focus on the mission. Whatever you do on your free time is whatever you do on your free time. So this story here, obviously making some waves today as well. Australia, for their end, are now fining Telegram nearly 1 million Australian dollars or $606,000 for delaying its response to questions on how the company regulates violent, extremist, and child sexual content on its platform. Australia's e-safety commissioner says Telegram took 160 days to respond to a reporting notice that asked how it tackled content related to terrorists, violent extremists, and child sexual abuse content on its platform. The delay violated the commissioner's May 6th deadline and triggered an infringement fine of 957,780 Australian dollars. So that's just under 600,000 US dollars. So they talk about accountability and so forth. Well, that's great, but find these companies to regulate content or find other dangerous content under the guise of dangerous content will be very, very interesting. Anyways, Dorov obviously folded after being arrested back in September of 2024 in France. And we know that Telegram's now been cooperating with law enforcement, providing logs. So we'll see if that's a change in modus operandi in Australia, or if they're regretting their cooperation and maybe they're saying, fine us all you want, we're not cooperating. Either way, again, more government overreach there. So brand impersonation is a very, very big thing if you're at work for a very big company. Well, now we're seeing threat actors using DeepSeek AI chatbots that are working to create essentially imposter sites. And then they're asking users to divulge personal and sensitive information in order to steal crypto. So that's really what they're trying to do. They're not trying to do a lot of other stuff at the moment. It's just information stealer. Primarily, they're trying to target financial stuff in order to power it. So the malware employs social media platforms like Telegram that we just talked about to conceal its C2 infrastructure. They've added the malware's program to search for files and configurations specifically related to crypto wallets. So once again, something to see here as they do that. Let's get into some vulnerabilities and some stuff to pay attention to. Unit 42 researchers over at Palo Alto Networks are talking about an undocumented Linux backdoor dubbed autocolor observed in attacks between November and December of last year, targeting some universities and government organizations in North America and Asia. The malware features similarities to the Symbiote Linux malware family, which was first documented by BlackBerry in 2022. Unit 42 does not have visibility into the initial infection vector, but the attack begins with execution of a file disguised as a benign name like door, egg, or log. If the malware runs with root privileges, it installs a malicious library implant disguised as a legitimate libsex.so.o library, copies itself to a system directory, and modifies to ensure the implement executes before any other system library. If root access isn't available, the malware still executes but skips the persistence mechanism. Although this limits its long-term impact, it still provides remote access to threat actors who may be able to achieve root through other means. So they're using some API, by the way, for some of this stuff. Autocolor also features a built-in kill switch, which will allow an attacker to immediately delete infection traces from compromised machines. Unit 42 suggests monitoring changes to /etc/.id.prelude, which is a key persistent mechanism, checking the /proc.net/net/DCP for output anomalies and behavior-based threat detection solutions. I've also listed IOCs in the full report, which the link is available on our website at cyberhubpodcast.com. CISA adding two new vulnerabilities to its catalog. The Microsoft Partner Center and the Zimbra collaboration suite have been added to the KEV catalog with evidence of active exploitation. CVE 2024-490035, an improper access control vulnerability in Microsoft Partner Center that allows an attacker to escalate privileges. That was fixed in November of 2024. And CVE 2023-341902, a cross-site scripting vulnerability in the Syncor ZCS that allows a remote authenticated attacker to execute arbitrary code via a grafted script. Both of those require your immediate attention. And finally, in industry news, Skybox Security abruptly lays off and shuts down all of its operations on Monday, both in Israel and the U.S. Skybox has recently, as just late in 2023, raised, I think it was $50 million. All in all, they raised north of $300 million. Now find themselves laying off all 300 employees, 100 in Israel, 200 in the U.S. The company website was unavailable. Rosen did not respond to any requests for comments. Skybox scored several major investments over the years, $335 million in all, from venture capital and private equity. Typhoon, another Israeli company in the network security policy management space, has picked off the Skybox technology and business assets and is positioning itself as a lifeline for some of those customers. So Skybox made, according to Typhoon CEO Ray Brancato, he emphasized the firm's financial stability, commitment to a smooth transition for affected clients, saying that Skybox made the difficult decision to close its operation effective immediately. For those impacted by the event, we understand that this is an uncertain time. We want to assure you that Typhoon is here to help you in your path forward. So there's that. as they abruptly go out of business. We'll try to get some more information as to what exactly happened at Skybox and share that with y'all as it becomes available. That's it for our show this morning. We'll be back tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern, live with all the latest and greatest. If you're at NASDAQ at the NHI Global Summit tomorrow, come by, say hello. Would love to see all of y'all in the Big Apple. Until then, have a great rest of your day, and most importantly, y'all, stay cyber safe.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.